What is going on, Neon Nation, and welcome back to the Neon Arcade. And today we have to talk about the Cyberpunk 2077 launch, what's happening right now with CDPR, and the current state of Cyberpunk across all platforms, but mainly on the base consoles. I've been having a blast with Cyberpunk, but at the same time I do have a very strong machine, which is not overly representative of the Cyberpunk 2077 experience for the average consumer. 2077's launch has been marred with a multitude of issues, some communicative, and some to do with technical elements of the game, but it's important that we talk about this because despite my love for CDPR and the devs working hard behind this game, the company has really skewered their public perception with this launch on consoles, and needs to find redemption in the coming months to regain this lost trust. For a large number of players, Cyberpunk 2077 is an overwhelming disappointment in terms of the polish of the game itself, and has begun to sow seeds of doubt in a company that has thus far made a name for itself by being pro-consumer. Many people are reporting severe glitches, bugs, crashing, slow rendering, pop-in on NPCs and textures, and frame rate dips that are borderline unplayable on the base consoles in the PS4 and the Xbox One. Beyond this, the review process did not include review copies for the PlayStation and Xbox, and only allowed actual game footage to be released after a second embargo a day before 2077's release, leading to the belief that these copies were held back because CDPR management knew that they were not up to snuff. Sites like OpenCritic now have a warning posted, with their team and some critics suspecting that CDPR tried to hide the state of the game on the base console, in turn manipulating reviews. In a response to this, CDPR released a statement regarding the game mentioning, quote, "Dear gamers, first of all, we would like to start by apologizing to you for not showing the game on base last-gen consoles before it premiered, and in consequence, not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase. We should have paid more attention to making it play better on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Second, we will fix the bugs and crashes and improve the overall experience. The first round of updates has just been released, and the next one is coming within the next 7 days. Expect more, as we will update frequently whenever new improvements are ready. After the holidays, we'll continue working. We'll release 2 large patches, starting with patch number 1 in January. This will be followed by patch number 2 in February. Together, these should fix the most prominent problems gamers are facing on last-gen consoles. We will be informing you about the contents of each patch ahead of their release. They won't make the game on last-gen look like it's running on a high-spec PC or next-gen console, but it will be closer to that experience than it is now. Finally, we would always like everyone who buys our games to be satisfied with their purchase. We would appreciate it if you guys gave us a chance, but if you're not pleased with the game on your console or don't want to wait for updates, you can opt to refund your copy. For copies purchased digitally, please use the refund system of PSN or Xbox respectively. For boxed versions, please first try to get a refund at the store where you bought the game. Should this not be possible, please contact us and we will do our best to help you. Starting from today, you can contact us for up to a week up until December 21st, 2020. This is where CDPR ran into yet another problem, and that is Sony and Microsoft's own return policies which take priority. Many people were denied refunds of their game because of this, although this has changed drastically with Sony stepping in. Sony's policies state that refunds are only issued if the product is faulty, and for the most part it seems like bugs and glitches don't seem to fall under that umbrella, although they did backpedal on this recently by removing Cyberpunk 2077 from the PSN store altogether, issuing refunds. This is huge for a company who has historically dug its heels into the ground. In a statement from CDPR, they mentioned, quote, "The management board of CD Projekt SA, with a registered office in Warsaw, publicly discloses the decision of Sony Interactive Entertainment to remove Cyberpunk 2077 from the PlayStation Store until further notice. The decision was undertaken following our discussion with SIE regarding a full refund for all gamers who had purchased Cyberpunk via PlayStation Store and want a refund at this time. All copies of the game previously purchased digitally on PS Store remain available for use by the respective buyers, and gamers can still buy physical versions of the game in retail and mail order stores. Brick and mortar stores are for the most part rejecting refunds unless the game is still sealed, and overall, the refund policy is just a mess. The game should have been ready to go from the beginning on all platforms, and now statements like "coming when it's ready" and "we treat gamers' money with respect" are starting to ring extremely hollow. CDPR has even been quoted saying that they are treating consoles as priority, and that it runs surprisingly well on these consoles even more recently, again severing trust in a big way. One of the major issues at play here is a seeming severe disconnect between management and the devs who are pouring in their creative efforts into this game. Management, more often than not, doesn't understand the scope of the technicalities of game development, and thus their projecting and planning many times falls to the wayside, leading to cut content, mismanaged release expectations, and delays. This might be an odd comparison, but contrast this with professional sports. The coach of any professional team is typically a former player, meaning that they know the ins and outs of the game that they're playing despite being removed from actually playing the sport. They know what to expect, they can push their players appropriately, and they can problem solve effectively should the need arise. Management in game studios many times feels far removed from the developmental team in terms of understanding how it works. You don't need to know how to code to manage a company, and this is where communication between departments is much more integral. Now, CDPR being a publicly traded company, they did open up an investors call shortly after their Twitter statement, so let's take a second and comb through this. They opened up by saying that the game had a strong opening and that, quote, "We've got positive feedback from players enjoying it on stronger machines, PCs, next-gen consoles, and Stadia, but initial feedback from those playing it on older last-gen consoles is way below our expectations." CD Projekt Red is a team that puts all their efforts and hearts to deliver amazing games. So how is it possible that it has come to this? After 3 delays, we as a management board were too focused on releasing the game. We underestimated the scale and complexity of the issues, we ignored the signals about the need for additional time to refine the game on the base last-gen consoles. This is where I go back to the disconnect between the development and management teams. It really does seem like communication was relatively non-existent here. We had a delay not too long ago that pushed the game back an additional 21 days to squash bugs, and this is after it went gold, meaning that they likely had to destroy discs that they had printed. There seemed to not be a concrete roadmap, and this was exacerbated by CDPR's own statements about only releasing Cyberpunk when it had polish levels that rival some of the heavier hitting studios. They go on to mention a set of fixes for January and February in an effort to fix the game across all platforms but mainly consoles, and to repair their now tarnished reputation. They also cite issues with the work-at-home orders where QA suffered. If you guys remember, we talked about CDPR hiring QLock to help squash bugs quite some time ago, likely due to the fact that they knew that they couldn't only rely solely on their internal team. CDPR only provided their internal team with connected machines for home, so essentially QLock couldn't continue their work on squashing these bugs. Now, all in all, this week has been disastrous for all parties involved and just leaves a bitter taste in the consumer's mouth. Add in the fact that CDPR founders have collectively lost an alleged $1 billion, IGN recently scored the game a 4 out of 10 for consoles, and a plummeting CDPR stock, and you have yourselves a nightmare situation for CDPR going forward. There's even some clues in the game itself in the form of shards, hinting at disgruntled employees, so there's also that. Like I said, I'm enjoying the game. I think the devs have hit some really high notes in certain areas, but it's clear that this is unfinished and not ready for store shelves, and that CDPR has some big hurdles in front of them if they want to regain the goodwill of the public. As always, thank you guys for watching, and for more content, join Neon Nation by subscribing to the Neon Arcade.